Bippity boppity boo. Oh man. Show 230 here for Hey everybody, welcome into the often imitated, never duplicated, original live, unfiltered, unedited, uncensored, commercial-free Sharks podcast, wrapping up your week of Sharks hockey, part of Teal Town, USA. Do the like and subscribe thing if you would, and make sure to hit us up in the comments section if you're not with us in the live chat. But you know, if you're not with us in the live chat, you're not going to win anything, at least not tonight. So, man, we're only like a week or so away from Christmas. I was with some friends of mine earlier today. I don't know if they run American commercials or what, in Canada. I'm sure there's got to be some products, that cross over.
So here's the thing, right? Like, so up in Canada, I mean, most of the network television we watched, if we had cable, is American. Like, we have like a couple of Canadian channels, but the channels that we watch are overwhelmingly the same channels you watch.
Okay, so we got a football game on, right?
Yeah.
They kick over. I don't know. I can't even remember the product that they were touting. It was there was certainly been a lot of fragrance commercials. I'll say that, but it was the rapper Busta Rhymes. I don't know what he was shilling. I don't know what he was hawking.
Okay.
But I was just like, really? This is what has become a Busta? I was like, man, in the 90s, that dude was the shit. Like, he was fantastic. And then, I started popping off with my friends. We start having fun with this. It's all, if you really want to party with me, show me the bottom of my Christmas tree. And, and he's going to rhyme Dillio with mistletoe. And we're just going to chill up in here, baby. Anyway, just a little,
legend.
Yeah. Little left turn there. So what happened was this week, the Sharks go 1-2, currently 11-17-5 for 30th in the league. And, hey, there was a lot of hope at the beginning of that road trip. And then we just were like, hey, you know what? 500 would be really nice. And that's what it ended up being. So 3 wins, 3 losses. But then, it's 3 straight losses, including Utah and all that. So Kunin would score twice in Carolina, but Sharks couldn't hold the lead again. Kovalenko making a name for himself real fast with 3 assists in St. Louis. And then Utah's first game at SAP was evidently a lesson in how not to officiate a game.
Yeah, oh man. Like, as a guy who doesn't really like to be like, the refs, like, that about me. Like, but like, even I am like, what in the fuck are we doing here? Like, where did these guys, like, is this the e-bug referee team?
Dude, see, and this is the problem. I'm going to have to lean on you for that one because I was actually at a show I was at a show in Monterey last night, but when I got home before I went to bed, I watched like the Sportsnet 12-minute recap or whatever of all the plays and, caught some stuff on social media. And I'm like, okay, everybody's upset that Celebrini almost died. Okay, now I get it, But I heard that was like the tip of the iceberg. We'll get there. Yeah. All right. So, the one thing I'm going to go off on straight out of the gate is because this evidently happened like in the last hour, but I'm assuming the Warriors are playing right now, I guess. The one thing I do know evidently is that Celebrini and Smith are at the game, but if you look on social media, based on tweets from the Warriors and KMBR, you would think that only Celebrini's there. Despite every photo of them posting of Celebrini, Smith being right next to him. It's just like,
sad.
It's typical.
Sad.
This is why I went off on KNBR last show before that, whenever it was, where it's just, fucking typical. These guys know fuck all about hockey. They don't care about the Sharks. So it's just going to be, we're only going to give you half the story because we only know half. I'm like, this is why I don't watch the Warriors. I don't listen to KMBR. These guys suck. Anyway, I'm telling you. Yeah, assholes. All right. So the Carolina game, Vanacek would start, and this would be his last start, or his latest start, I should say, before or after getting shelled in Tampa. You had a couple moves on the roster as we started the week. So Goodrow activated. Will Smith goes to retroactive IR. Obviously would come back against Utah. Thompson set down. Mukhamadullin called up kind of on the down low until later in the day. I was kind of wondering, like, what's that about? But Kovalenko would slot in, and the Lund line would be reunited. I mean, aside from Kunin scores twice, and you're like, hey, and they get a lead. But it's another time where the Sharks give up a killer in the last 3 minutes of a period. I thought they had a good push at the end, but it's another 1-goal loss.
Yeah. Look at this is a game like where I think they played fine. It was good. I mean, I wasn't like, it sucks that they lost, but at the same time, I thought they held their own against a good team. Vitek Vanacek gets the start. Obviously, his first start after Mackenzie Blackwood is sent the other way, is gone. Mm-hmm. So now he's no pressure. Now he's kind of, no pressure, right? You've been off a little season, but like now you've got to be the guy. And you know what? Credit to Vitek Vanacek. I thought he was fine this game. I don't think there was any goal where I thought he was super at fault for. I thought the Sharks hung with a really good team.
I'm with you, but I mean, you must be a pretty good team if your defense scores all your goals.
Yeah, I mean, but we've watched Brent Burns outscore the forwards when he was here, and the forwards are much better.
Yeah, but there, there was a few.
I mean, not much better than what they have in Carolina, but they were much better than this current Sharks incarnation.
Yeah. Eklund and Zetterlund would get benched in the last 8:51 of the opening frame, kind of a, I need more from you kind of a sitting.
Yes.
And then Kunin would get a beautiful feed from Eklund, and, bada bing, bada boom, Ferraro with a bonehead penalty, which we've come to expect. You can't take that in a tie game, but.
Yeah, again, and I think the one thing, obviously it's annoying to see Eklund always end up getting benched forever, but he always responds.
Yep.
To his credit, it seems like he always responds. Anytime he gets sent down the lineup or the coach decides that okay, not good enough, and you're gonna sit for the last 8 minutes of period, he always seems to get something out of him. I just wonder for how long, how long until Eklund's like, oh, fuck this.
Yeah. It's you can
only push that button so many times.
Exactly. And then of course, NBC in the broadcast trying to keep that perfect record of trolling fans with mistakes or whatever they're doing. During the second intermission, Randy's talking with Jamal. The screen shows a scoreboard, then B-roll. Then a 2-shot of Randy. And I'm like, at this point, they might be doing it on purpose to troll us. It's like my own personal version of Where's Waldo.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, what are we doing over there, guys? So we would see the Sharks then head over to St. Louis for the final game of the road trip. And hello, Alexander Georgiev getting the start. Dude, first thing I want to say and show it on here, sick mask, bro. For how quickly that had to be done, I like it. It's, it's not overwhelming. I really like the dude's mask, to be honest with you. Mukhamadullin would make his season debut. And, dude, I mean, start 90 seconds in, Kovalenko to Celebrini to Foley, boom, and you're like, okay, I feel like we're going to have a response tonight.
Yeah. Yeah, and it was a nice goal. I don't know. I mean, for I guess for how quick he got that mask put together, it's nice, I guess. I don't know. When you just see some of the stuff that they do, I don't know. I hope that's not the finished product. But I mean, maybe it is, because again, does he have a future here? I don't know.
That's true. Yeah, I bet there's a couple of people rubbing their hands together, going, "Yeah, I'm going to be bidding on that later."
Yeah.
So. I mean, like I said, Kovalenko got 3 assists in this one. They get the win for Alexander in his first start, so you like that. But Kovalenko making an impression, 2 assists on the first 2 goals, and I mean, just overall a good night. I mean, +3, gets 11 minutes of ice time, and the Sharks finally score a 5-on-4 power play goal, so that was nice. But Shang talking in the post game says the Sharks know what they've got in Kovalenko. Celebrini saying he's so strong on the puck, wins pucks for our guys. He's been amazing for us. And I'm like, he's been here for 2 games, bro. But all right.
I think he's done well though. I mean,
I think he's slid in amazingly well.
Yeah, like all things considered, like you're coming to a new team, you're coming into a new situation, new system. I think he's done really well for what they've asked of him so far. I've been impressed so far. I mean, again, like you look at it like is this a piece that's going to be a part of things going forward? I don't know, but it's a nice piece for right now.
Well, and we have all, I don't want to say a log jam per se, but there's an awful lot of forwards on this team. A lot of people trying to make that, part of the 12. And Kostin now going on IR, but so that means Kovalenko's gonna get a look.
Yeah,
and it just goes to show you how much more guys like Gushin or or anybody with the Barracuda are gonna have to do to try to make an impact to knock one of these guys out, at least until one of them is traded. Hello, Nico Sturm.
Yeah, probably. I mean, because this team, especially on the wing, they're kind of flush with wingers right now, or guys that can play wing, right? Like obviously Will Smith's done a lot of playing wing. I think when it's all said and done, the Sharks would like him to be a center, but right now he's playing on the wing, where I think he's done much better since getting moved there. But yeah, it's gonna be hard, right? Because there's a lot of guys on this team that the Sharks seem to have a hard on for. So for Kovalenko, he's going to have to be good to stay in the lineup, because otherwise, I don't know.
Well, Sharks last.
Klim Kostin's on the IR, so that's the doghouse player this year for the most part.
Well, early on, yes, but I felt like before he got injured, he was like pulling his weight in a big way.
Yeah, no, I think he's been good since he's started to come back into the lineup regularly again. But I just think that, like, I just wonder, like, is he like just a bad game from going right back where he started?
Oh, yeah, I feel that. Sharks last with a great question in the chat saying, why make those roster changes for the last game of a road trip where you have to fly Mukhamadullin all the way to St. Louis and Jack Thompson all the way back? Help me understand.
I think the Sharks really like Shakir Mukhamadullin, and for what they gave up to get him, justifiably so, right?
Mm-hmm.
Obviously a part of the Timo Meier trade. Like, this was a big part of this was supposed to be the big get in that deal. Zetterlund was a nice addition, right? And obviously the draft pick's nice, but like the prospect that they got that was the touted guy was Shakir Mukhamadullin. So I think this is a guy that the Sharks do like a lot and probably would want to have in the lineup a lot sooner. But unfortunately, it took him a while to find his game after missing training camp and then going to the Barracuda. It took him a little bit to find his game, but it seemed like as soon as he seemed to find his game, like he was right up. And there was a lot of talk before the season from Shang and other people about how, like, the Sharks had Mukhamadullin as a guy in this, like, a regular 6 defenseman for this team this year. So I agree. It seems kind of weird to have, like, to make that move, but I think it's because the Sharks think that highly of Mukhamadullin that they just wanted to get him in there and get him paces at the NHL level.
Yeah, I'm real interested to see what this blue line looks like the day after the trade deadline.
Yeah.
I mean, I like Jack Thompson. I like what he had brought so far. So I was kind of like, maybe Ruda sits and we see Thompson and Mukhamadullin play.
That was never going to happen.
I know, but hey, a guy can dream.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't be a broadcast without NBC doing something. So during this particular game, I want to say this was
the NBC people are going to meet us at the bike rack by like February.
Yeah, but you know what? They wouldn't know what to do there either. Uh, during the pregame, right?
If you know, you know.
Yeah. But during the pregame, they've, they got Ted and Al doing their thing, and then they just randomly throw up snipe. And, in this huge white box. And, on a production side, like it's basically a placeholder. That's a name on the production side for an element used in the broadcast, right? They call it a snipe. Just like in radio, they'll call it a bumper when they're coming in and out of a broadcast. But yeah, but dude, I mean, I was like, as soon as I
poor not Brody looks so stoned.
But dude, as soon as I saw this, I'm like, okay, the smart ass in me, of course, immediately wants to bring this into Photoshop, and then do a version that says wheel and then Selly, and just put a wheel snipe Selly. Let's just do them all in 3 shots. But it's just like, I don't know what the hell you guys are doing.
And Ted Ramey's looking at him like, what are you doing, guy?
Yeah, at one point, Ted, God love him, he's on KNBR, he's doing the Sharks Audio Network. I mean, and he is Mr. Positivity. He's a kill him with kindness kind of dude. But I think it's some point, I don't know if it's going to be the halfway season or, that he's just going to crack open the door to, the production area and go, hey, guys, help a guy out, man. Get it together, man. What are you guys doing?
Yeah.
Oh, my God. All right. So the Sharks would return home last night, face Utah. Vanacek goes back in on it seemed like they had 18 different promotions going on. There was the holiday sweater auction. There was an indigenous warm-up jersey auction. Mm-hmm. There was the holiday sweater CD giveaway. Just, man, there's a lot going on. All against a team that doesn't even have a name. All right. So Costin now goes to IR. Will Smith returns for this game. And the first thing people are going, Warsaw, what is with these lines? Why is Zetterlund on the 4th? Why is Kunin on the 2nd? Is that discipline for Zets? Hey, buddy, we need more from you.
None of these lines make any sense. That's the thing that I don't understand. I don't understand where these lines came from, because they don't make sense. Celebrini with Kovalenko and Toffoli, it's interesting. It's fine. Whether that's the first or the second line, I can deal with that. Mm-hmm. But then Granlund, Eklund, and Kunin, I don't know, man. What are we doing? Goodrow, Wenberg, Smith. That's fine. But then, yeah, that's Dellandry and Igor Sturman, and Fabian Zetterlund is your 4th line, and I just, I scratch my head because I don't know. I don't know what we're doing.
Well, I think if you flip Kunin and Zetterlund, you're kind of okay, then it makes sense. So I'm kind of wondering, okay, is part of it, a little bit of Zetterlund, we need more from you, and part of it is that, hey, Kunin had a really good week, so
yeah, he had a good week. So I understand the promotion. I just look at these lines and I'm like, what are we doing here?
Yeah, and Smith is, it just I get it that you want to give him time with the big club and give it. But then I'm like, but do we really want this kid on the 3rd line?
I don't hate him with Wenberg, though. I think Wenberg's a nice partner for him. I just wish they would give him something on the other side that could do some offense.
Yeah, true that.
Know what I mean? Because Wenberg's as far as guys, Wenberg, he's fine. Again, if you're not going to put him with obviously, right now it seems like the Lund line is the only thing that goes. Mm-hmm. So I don't know why they keep breaking it up, even though I think it's that the fact that that's the only line that does anything is a problem. Celebrini's obviously had some games here where he's been very good too. So he's done fine for whoever he's generally been with, but I just I don't know. So I don't hate Smith with Wenberg. I think Wenberg's a good center. I think he has some offensive chops. I just wish that he would have someone a little more creative on the other wing.
Yes, that would be nice. For those of you joining, you're watching with us live. Unfortunately, I've noticed that in the last 2 minutes, Ontario has tied it up, and we're looking at a 3-3 game right now with the Barracuda.
Sad.
Mofo asking, did the production team leave along with Brody? I don't want to say they left, as maybe were asked to leave.
I don't think they left by choice. I just think that that costs needed to be cut.
Yeah. So I mean, Utah's first goal, I will say, I thought it was kind of a lazy play from Will Smith. If I'm being honest, I think it was kind of one of those Erik Karlsson, let me just kind of throw my stick out there a little bit and see if it annoys you kind of a play. Mm-hmm. But like I said from the top, this is one of the rare games that I wasn't able to watch in the moment. But goddamn, did I hear a lot of crying about the officiating. I mean, I'm like, what the hell happened?
Justified. Because again, like, I am generally not a guy who's going to come on here and bitch about officiating. I mean, we've been doing this for 10 years? How many games have you heard me like make a point to bitch out of officiating?
Yeah, like
probably
5.
A handful. Right. Yeah, exactly. This was definitely one of them. Obviously there's the highlight of, you're going to see where Stenlund, hits Celebrini from behind, which was a pretty dangerous hit. And Stenlund was the guy who hit Celebrini and put him out at the beginning of the season. So obviously, Sharks fans are a little upset with him at this point. And not only that, but the fact that there was no response to Celebrini getting hit from behind. The problem is as the game got closer to the end, in the third period, like, the refs had somewhere to be. That's the only explanation I have, because I think that there was so many calls like that were legit calls that just didn't get called on the thing. Like, I think I tweeted out, like, the Sharks are going to have to get an amputation here to get a call.
Well, I saw something. It looks like Granlund took a shot to the head, and I don't know if there was a call there.
Yeah, it was bad, dude.
And then there was some call towards the end of the game, I think on like Cece or something, that was like pretty stupid.
Yeah, it just didn't feel like the calls were going both ways. And I thought that the calls on the Sharks, again, and this is like, and again, I do not like to get on the refs. I do not like to be like, oh, the refs are the story here, man. But they are. Like, I thought some of the shit that they called on the Sharks was pretty ticky-tacky, and there was a lot of calls that I thought were pretty obvious calls that just didn't get called for Utah. And again, I don't know if the refs had somewhere to be.
Did you have the Sharks feed or Utah?
I believe I had the Sharks feed for this one. Yeah.
So were Randy and Drew getting on him at all?
Oh yeah. Like, it was, they were pretty upset, as was the entire fan base. So again, if you go through social media last night, like, people are just like, what is going on here? And other people too, who I would say are very similar to me, who they don't, they won't really make the referees an excuse, but a lot of people that normally don't bitch about the refs were bitching about the refs last night. So I certainly wasn't alone.
So I still have it on my library. I'm going to have to go back and take a look at this game.
It's pretty brutal.
Like, what in the hell happened?
Yeah, it's pretty brutal. Like, again, like, there's a lot of, like, I think, again, like, it's just the people that don't talk about officiating commonly were very angry at the officiating in this game, including myself. Like, it was a frustrating game to lose the way they did, because again, like, I thought anytime the Sharks should have had a chance to get back into it, they'd have a call go against them, and Utah could do no wrong. Like, again, like, I was waiting, someone was gonna have to die to get a penalty. Like, that's just the way it seemed like it was gonna go.
Swenson in the chat saying, who punched Celebrini in the head on the face-off? Was that Stenlund too?
It might have been. I'm trying to remember. I don't recall. It might have been. I know somebody, and then, like, somebody hit the linesman into fucking Celebrini in the face-off dot. Like, just crazy shit. Like, yeah, it was an interesting game, to say the least, and not a game where if I'm the NHL, I'm super happy with my officiating crew.
Hey, molasses.
But I hope they enjoyed their dinner reservation, because clearly they were fairly worried about it.
Maybe it was some of those restaurants at Santana Row closed kind of early. 8:26 into the third. Ethan Cardwell from Podorowski and Bordelot have given the Barracuda a 4-3 lead. So
there we go.
We're on there. We're still on CUDA watch, if you will.
With Bukestad. There you go.
So, oh, okay. So the thing that was getting me, because again, I'm one of those guys where it's like I'm not gonna. I want to see the game obviously before I start like bitching at zebras, because I was like looking at the numbers and I'm like, okay, wait, is it
bad?
Well, but I was like, is it the officials' fault that Utah outshot them 40-22? Is it the officials' fault that Utah outshot them 17-4 in the third? Is it the refs' fault Utah went 2 for 6 on the power play? I mean, obviously, giving them 6 power play opportunities is the officials.
Yeah, no, it was really bad, man. And again, like at a point in the game where like the Sharks were in it, and then they couldn't get back into it because they couldn't get a call.
God, I'm looking on here because one question we just got was, when do the Sharks play Utah again?
I don't know, but
I'm looking at the schedule. I don't see them seeing each other again.
Did they already?
Because you had the game at Utah on October 28th.
Yeah, you only play like outside of your. Well, they're still in the West though, so you'd figure they'd play at least 3 games.
Oh, my bad. January 10th at Utah.
There you go. In Utah, January 10th. There you have it. So, yeah, because I was gonna say they're in the West. So they've got to play them again.
I was gonna say it had to have been a third game. So, any hoodles. Let's move on to some stuff that happened outside of the games this week. Well, the Sharks made themselves a little trade.
Did they ever?
Yeah. Mackenzie Blackwood, it was the Sharks came along and said, we forgot to get you something for your birthday. How about playing for the Avalanche? And
it's a pretty good birthday present. Is hey, would you like to go? Would you like to have a chance to play in the playoffs?
Yeah, dude, I'm sure it was like, bet.
Yeah.
So our hero last week, if you remember, I was like, last week, goddamn, Blackwood is saving this team. In the last 3 games, he's got a 943, 964, 947, and played in every game that week. It was the DC win, and then replacing Vanacek after one period, then 50 saves in Florida. And I think at that point, Greer said, this guy's value can get no higher. And so you have what we got. And I'm going to say I was a hair disappointed in this deal. Like, I get it. You're getting back a second round pick, which is fantastic when you consider the Sharks only gave up a 6 to get him. And it was Greer taking a chance on a reclamation project. It severely paid off. I would have liked to have seen maybe one more pick coming back to San Jose, or maybe some conditions on the pick. I mean, Blackwood's only making 2.3, and could no other team like the Oilers beat this offer? Because NHL radio, and granted, not everybody there is a Mensa member, but it's, they were calling it a steal for Colorado in the moment. Said fans of other teams had to have been wondering what their front office is up to. And Elliot Friedman on 32 Thoughts said one of 4 teams that were calling San Jose about Blackwood was Carolina, and I evidently were very in it. So you got to think, if you're just using some critical thinking here, it's Colorado, Carolina, based on Friedman. I'm thinking maybe Edmonton and maybe Boston.
I don't think Boston's looking. I mean, like, Jeremy Swayman just has to play better. Here's the thing, right? I'm gonna go attack this from 2 different ways.
Sure.
Because I saw this in the notes, so I kind of put together some notes, and I'm gonna play devil's advocate here because I love Mackenzie Blackwood. Like, don't get it twisted. I love Mackenzie Blackwood, one of my favorite Sharks over the past 2 seasons. As a guy who theoretically just hates goalies, like, Mackenzie Blackwood was my guy. So I'm gonna hit the why, because I thought a lot of people being like, well, why didn't he get a first round pick? And I'm gonna tell you why he didn't get a first round pick. First, how many playoff wins does Mackenzie Blackwood have? Trick question. He has no games in the playoffs, period. Right? So right there, like, guys like proven guys, right? And you're gonna talk about guys, and they're gonna say, oh, well, goalies generally don't get great returns. And then so people are automatically obviously gonna respond, well, Linus Ullmark got a first and Jacob Markstrom got a first.
Were both of those guys in season when those moves happened?
No.
My point.
No. That's one. 2, Linus Alkmaar has a Vezina. And obviously, Jacob Markstrom's a proven guy. Jacob Markstrom has more wins than Mackenzie Blackwood has games in the league. Right?
Mm-hmm.
And then obviously, and another guy who got traded who got a first is Marc-Andre Fleury. Only the second most winning. I don't get I understand the love for Marc-Andre Fleury because I think he's a funny dude and everything, but and he is the second most winningest goalie in league history. He won't catch Brodeur, but I mean, he's number 2 on the list. Again, I think he's a touch overrated, but really cool guy, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think that, as much as I love Mackenzie Blackwood and as much as I think he's done good here, rebuilding his value, he still hasn't done anything.
I feel that.
And there was no, and I don't think that there was a big, and it wasn't a situation where it's like, oh, well, if there, I don't think that there was a lot of great options, but I don't think that there was I don't think the other options were going to net better picks for somebody, right? I don't think it was a situation where, Colorado's like, oh, well, I don't want to give you a second. I'm going to call, they're going to call. So they're going to call now. They're going to call Anaheim about fucking John Gibson. Right. Then they're going to have to give up more because they're going to have to get the Ducks to retain salary. I just don't think that, I think the return is fine for what Mackenzie Blackwood is, and I think as Sharks fans we're probably a little too close to it.
And I'll admit to that, but there is a part of me that it's like, God damn, I'd really like to know if it was Carolina and Edmonton. I mean, say it was Carolina and Edmonton, it's like I'd really love to know what the offer was that the Colorado one was better.
Yeah, and so let's get to our other teams interested, right? And I think there's a big difference between I think teams are interested and teams that are. If you go back to the trade deadline last year, right? What was the big talking point? Oh man, the Leafs need a goalie. Oh man, the Oilers need a goalie. Oh man, the Hurricanes need a goalie. Which team traded for a goalie at the deadline last year? None of them. Zero.
And how often were we pushing? As the Sharks were like, please take our goal. We sounded like Henny Youngman. Take our goalies, please.
Yeah. Like that. And that's the thing, right? I think there's a difference between, I think this team should do this and this team is actually trying to do this.
Mm-hmm.
I think, I'm sure teams were interested. And I wonder if a part of the 4 teams being involved was just Mike Grier trying to increase the value.
Right. Exactly. And I I
wonder if those are calls that Mike Grier initiated to be like, hey, because you look at a team like Carolina, who's the other team listed, Nashville is where offense goes to die. Carolina is where goalies go to turn to glass.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It seems like they're always broken.
Man, I liked Chris coming in with the OC reference about a Vezina. That's an old school reference. I talk about if you know, you know. Remenda did say Blackwood didn't want to leave and Grier didn't want to trade him. Says Grier really loved Blackwood, but the offer was too good to refuse. And then, that just made it pop into my head. I'm like, I wonder how many great offers Doug Wilson turned down because he was too in love with the player.
Oh, I know.
It makes you wonder, man.
It'd be interesting, right? There's just one of those, if Doug Wilson ever wrote a book, I would read it.
Oh, absolutely. Remendo also confirmed that he knew for a fact that 4 teams were interested. So
I believe it. But to what level?
Yeah. Right? To what end, how much of it was Grier trying to goose the return? Absolutely get that. But that's how you play the game.
I have no, because as much as maybe Sharks fans aren't happy with this return, I can't imagine there was a better return out there.
Yeah.
I can't imagine him not taking the best deal.
Oh,
and Colorado was obviously in a situation where they needed this badly.
Well, and I'll tell you the thing that would piss me off, if you find out about it later, I don't know how sick to death I get of hearing, well, you don't want to do a deal in division. Fuck you. It's like Edmonton is all in right now. The Sharks aren't even close. So what does it matter? You know what I mean?
Well, exactly, right. And that's the other thing too. It's oh, well, now he's going to go and win the Stanley Cup. What if he does? Like, it's like the Sharks are winning a Stanley Cup with Mackenzie Blackwood.
I was going to say Aiden Hill did.
Yeah, I give the only reason that breaks Sharks fans is because it was fucking Vegas.
Yeah, of course. He wins that with Dallas or Nashville. Nobody cares.
No one gives a shit.
Yeah. The Sharks also included Giovanni Smith because, there can only be one Smith on the Sharks, and we know which one that was.
Yeah, yeah.
And let's be honest. I mean, it was proved that nobody wanted Giovanni Smith the day before after clearing waivers. So, I mean, wouldn't it be great if the Sharks were, somehow Spear, Nabokov, whoever else is, involved in this. If San Jose just becomes this weird rehab for goalies, I think it would be great.
It would. I mean, it would definitely be a big feather in the hat for what they've built in the goaltending department, what they've added to it. Because Evgeny Nabokov's always been here, but like adding guys like Spear and what's his name? He's so good, and he was
Ryan Miller.
Ryan Miller, thank you. He's so good. I don't know why I always forget his name because he's so good. He was so good when he played. Yeah, like Ryan Miller. I think they've added to that department instead of just kind of it being kind of Nabby's show. I mean, it still is, but obviously they've kind of insulated Nabby with more voices. I think it's worked a lot better.
Yeah. Oh, big time. Ryan Miller. Is that the last time the Sabres were in the playoffs?
It might be.
We got a couple super chats here, but the one thing I do want to mention is Tyga says the Sharks did a deal in the division, Hurdle, and it sucked. You know what? Ask me about that deal in about 5 to 7 years when Askarov is kicking ass.
Yeah.
And then I'll, then maybe, then we'll get to some recency bias out of that, or maybe we'll go, what a piece of shit that was. Mm-hmm. All right, John Swenson, thank you so much for the super chat, good sir. If the damn thing would post to, there we go. How much do you think Blackwood will want in the offseason if you priced himself out of San Jose? Sorry to see him go, but get the most you can. I mean, right now the Sharks aren't exactly up against the cap.
Yeah,
and there's only a handful of goalies that are going to get severe money, and I don't think Blackwood at this point was going to get that.
I think it's probably 5,
maybe.
Yeah, I think 5, right? Like that's what I think. I look at basically with a goalie with his experience in the cap going up and kind of like where other goalies are. I could see him asking for like upwards of 5, right? I don't think he might not get all 5 million, but I think that's kind of the cap of where I think Mackenzie Blackwood probably can get a deal in the offseason. I think again but the thing is like I think a lot of teams would be interested in Mackenzie Blackwood in the offseason and teams that are obviously in a lot better of a situation, because as much as I like Mackenzie Blackwood, you look at he's 28. Is he still here when this team is good, or was he always going to be just a transition guy?
Mm-hmm.
Like as much as I think it would be nice to have Askarov to come up and then have Mackenzie Blackwood be the 1B in that thing, but I think that there would be other teams that will probably want to address goaltending in the offseason who would probably give him not only a better situation, because again, he wants to be the 1A, not the 1B,
mm-hmm.
and probably, and probably a better chance of playing in the playoffs, which is what all these guys want to do.
Skylar coming in here saying hello from my birthday dinner. Happy holidays to Town family. Happy holidays to you, sir.
Yes, happy holidays.
Tyga says Askarov wasn't in the Hurdle deal. I know that. Do you want to do the math, or shall I, Ian?
Okay. And I know, because I know when I was mad about this on the last show, people were like, "Oh, well, Askarov's here because like, I don't think you have to do one to get the other. Like, obviously, the fact that they got this stuff from Vegas and they used it, but they could have used anything to get Askarov. Sure. I don't think it was you didn't have to do one to do the other, but obviously the pieces that they used were mostly from the Vegas trade. So
we'll wait for the dangled trade tree thing. And you can
yeah. Like, I think it is what it is, but I just like I don't think that if I don't subscribe to the idea that if they didn't trade Hurdle, they couldn't get Askarov. They were flush with assets. They could have traded somebody else. They could have traded like as much as it would have hurt me now, but like that could have been Philip Beested instead of David Edstrom. They had picks to trade. Like it didn't one didn't have to happen for the other to happen.
Well, and a guy and his dog saying Hurdle was super unhappy, wanted out. I don't know that that's necessarily. I don't think he was unhappy like being in San Jose. I think he saw the tea leaves and went, "Oh shit, this team is going to go through." Yeah, like I'm going to be in my prime while this team goes through a massive rebuild.
Yeah.
What the fuck was I thinking signing that 8-year deal? You know, a year ago or whatever.
Why did Joe Will get to sign that deal? That's the other question that I want the answer to, but I'll never get. But that's the one I want. Is why was Joe Will allowed to sign that contract to begin with?
Right. Oh man. All right. Bad news. Ontario has tied it up. We got 3:20 remaining in the third. This is looking like this could very well go to OT. Oh man. So it got me thinking with Blackwood. We got a couple months here, and who else is left after Blackwood? So we have some UFAs to talk about, 7 to be precise. Granlund, 32 years old, making $5 million.
Mm-hmm.
That's I'm going to say this, and then I know there's going to be a couple people that lose their shit. Let me just say right now, calm down when I say this. The Sharks don't have a space to retain salary. We all know this. It's fine.
And that's why they can't do nothing.
Right. So Granlund, I mean, if Granlund is, and plus you can always work a 3-way deal. Somebody else can eat some cash. But Granlund, 32 years old, making the $5 million UFA. I think that's a solid piece that could very well get moved, especially if you see somebody like, I'm not saying that whether it's Kovalenko or Gushin or somebody else, Bordelot, is magically going to step up in the next 2 months. But that's
one of their centers to magically step up. That's the problem.
Yeah. So
because I don't think celebrating Wenberg is a good one too.
You're right. So I mean, what would be your plan? Obviously, if somebody comes along and makes Greer an offer he can't refuse,
Mm-hmm.
What do you think the Sharks would be looking for in that regard?
Man, I am good at dealing with things that are. I have a terrible imagination for things that could be.
Yeah, and I hate talking about
I'm so
could have been
bad
shit
at this.
too.
Like I understand like it makes for good podcasts, but I'm really bad at this. Like I have a really bad imagination for this shit. I still think I think Granlund could probably net you a second, like comfortably. I think. I think it depends on the situation, what another team wants. I think it depends on, do you have to get another team involved for that all-important salary retention that the Sharks can't do anything without? You know what I mean? Like there's a lot of factors there. I think comfortably he could get you a second. I think a first under the right situation, but that would be tricky because again, you would have to get another team involved, and I don't know if it gets worth it at that point.
Oh my God, dude. So credit to Skylar for pointing this out. Says you got to read the KMVR's last tweet about Will Smith. So evidently they post a tweet. It's a shot of the scoreboard. Macklin's on there. It's a 2-shot. It's a shot of both Will and Macklin, sitting next to each other. Only Macklin's name is on the lower third. And, it says Macklin celebrating here for Warriors and Mavs. And then I guess a little bit later, they retweet on top of that and put all caps and Will Smith ... and then says will be better moving forward as the Sharks leader. And they misspelled Will. I'm assuming they meant to say WE''LL. But it just you know what?
Leader. Fuck off.
I was gonna say KMBR, dude, you blew that ride 20 years ago. Just let it go. You blew it. All right, Kunin, 27-year-old, $2.56 million. That's, I mean, if he keeps playing like he did versus Carolina, sure. Scored 2 goals a game. Why not?
I just, again, I
just don't see a lot of market for Kunin.
Luke Kunin is, I think there would be. GMs are stupid about guys like Luke Kunin.
You make a fair point.
I think that, yeah, I look at the Sharks love this guy, man. Like they love Luke Kunin. I would be shocked to see him go, to see
Well,
them trade Luke Kunin. But again, I think if a team blows down the door, I think this is a situation where I think that NHL GMs think more of the player than I do.
well, if he's good in the room and has the compete level.
And I have like, and again, I think it's one of those things where it's like, as Sharks fans, we're too close to it sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Like with Mackenzie Blackwood, I think like we're too close to it so we're like, oh, this isn't enough. And it's like, well, if you kind of look at it from like if you kind of, let's take yourself out of it, it's fine.
All right, Nico Sturm, 29 years old, $2 million. I gotta feel that on one hand, Sturm is great a guy Sturm is.
Mm-hmm.
I gotta feel like Sturm, it's never going to be said publicly, but I feel like Nico's going to be like, okay, I did my time here. I did my penance. I did what I was supposed to do. Yeah. Please get me on a team where I can try to get another cup.
I think Nico Sturm's a guy, especially with that cap hit. I think he's a guy that teams would probably be pretty interested in, because you always see teams kind of make those kind of moves right at the deadline. It's like always like we picked up this bottom six guy who's going to help our depth in the playoffs, and they generally don't do anything. But I think Nico Sturm is a great candidate to be one of those guys.
Well, dude, he's great in the circle, and I mean, talk about a guy who takes ownership. So, I mean, if that's one of the things, he's the guy that out of everybody on the Sharks right now, if you need a defensive zone face-off win in a key moment, that's the guy I'm looking at.
Nico Sturm, man. Yeah. Put him out there. Like, I like Nico Sturm. Don't get me wrong. I do genuinely think that there would be a lot of playoff teams interested in, because they're always trying to make those bottom six depth moves at the deadline.
Thank you. On the defensive side, Cody Ceci, 30 years old, 3.25. You can't get him out of here fast enough for me.
Yeah, and I think this is a guy who's probably more appealing than I think he is, but I can't imagine. Cody Ceci's going to be in this kind of the spot now where I think he's going to kind of just be in this hell where he's kind of a guy who kind of mercenaries himself out to like bottom of the league teams trying to get back to a contender. But there's a reason he's not in Edmonton anymore.
So
who went to the Stanley Cup final, right?
Yeah. Rain and Kuda tied 4-4 going to overtime. Jan Ruda, 34 years old, making 2.75. This is another guy that I'm kind of like, okay, 34 years old, and we have Mukhamadullin. We have we have another year of Vlasic. We have enough old D. We don't need a 34-year-old making that money. Let's give a look to Thompson and Mukhamadullin and Thrun and those guys.
Yeah, Jan Ruda's a guy who I think, because he's more like, he has somewhat more of a playoff history, but record. But I think age is starting to become a factor with Jan Ruda. I think he'd probably be more appealing than Cody Ceci, but I don't think he's more appealing by much at this point in his career.
We'll see if the holiday video curse continues. Sturm and CC were in that video, so it already nabbed Blackwood. Thank you, Tyga. And then, of course, the big questions, Vanacek and Georgiev, whatever, both 28 years old. Vanacek making 3.4, Georgiev making 2.9, both UFAs. And, it's, you have a couple months.
Either of them is going to, I don't think you could reclimate either of these guys in that short a period of, Mackenzie Blackwood, I took 2 years to build up, a season and a half to build up the cachet that he kind of had to be able to get the Sharks what he did. Georgiev is toxic waste for, I think, a lot of teams right now, considering what happened in Colorado. I can't imagine, there's no contender that's going, oh, let's bring in Georgiev. He don't if they watched the playoffs last year, or if they watched him play in Colorado. Like I just he's toxic waste as far as I'm concerned. And Vitek Vanacek again, I think that you can the tier of goalie that Vitek Vanacek is, you can get that in a lot of places. I don't think you could probably do better. Like Colorado, they made 2 moves. They made one for Blackwood. They made one for Wedgwood, right? Like I still think there's guys like kind of in that Wedgwood tier where you'd probably go to them before you'd even look at Vitek Vanacek.
I just want one of them to be a reclamation project that works. Just one, please. I don't care which one. Just please.
Yeah, I think it's a situation where it's like, one of them might be back next year, none of them may be back next year, and I'm fine with it, right? Because that next year Askarov's going to be on the team.
Without a doubt.
And then so the issue is going to be who's going to be his 1B. Maybe it is Vitek Vanacek. That's fine by me.
Dank in the chat saying, "What are we paying Vlasic?" Well, that would be $7 million.
$7 million,
and it's $7 million too much.
Yes.
So, but I believe it's only 1 more year after this, right?
Of Vlasic, as far as I know, yeah.
Yeah. So
like Vitek Vanacek is a guy who I think I think he could be a fine 1B for a team that's not still I think the Sharks are going to want to be better next year, obviously, but they're not going to be significantly better. So another year of Vanacek till you find who's gonna be the 1B to Askarov is fine.
Yeah. But see, and thank God, Wilson isn't here any longer, because they'd probably be announcing a 3-year extension for Vlasic tomorrow if that was the case.
Tom Dolan saying Georgiev as Askarov's backup. I mean, maybe, but like I honestly, based on nothing, I don't know Georgiev. I wonder if he jumps to the K after this season.
Well, it's funny you say that, because that's what Ryan is saying in the chat there too. So. A guy and his dog asking, let's talk arena. Do they get a freshen up, or the city let them go to SF? First off, the Sharks are never going to San Francisco. I'll bet the house on that right now. The arena gets a refresh almost every year. It's like you don't always see it. It could be things like replacing the escalators, or redoing stairs, or key components to keep it the building there. I would love to see them do a refresh of the audio system there, because I think it's unfortunately, I feel like when I go to games, I hear a lot of and I hear a lot of but I don't hear the mid. So here's
the other thing that's really important to remember too, is that the arena that the Warriors play in wasn't built for hockey in mind at all, which means it would make a shit hockey arena.
Yeah, but there's a whole city on the other side of the bay that is in desperate need of a team. I can see Oakland coming along, and it's like, the Sharks are
they
not
build
moving
a building?
Well, they certainly have the space for it. It's that, does somebody have, is Joe Lakeup want to buy the Sharks from Hasso, scrape, buy that land from Oakland? Okay, I don't even want to go down this fucking road. It's not going to happen.
It's never going to happen, right? Like, is Oakland going to build is Oakland going to build a hockey arena, like a brand new arena right now? I doubt it.
No.
The Sharks are fine where they, like, I understand, like, I don't know, maybe I've never been to SAP, so I'm talking ass, but I feel like, it's again, like, it's really, really hard right now to build arenas.
Yeah. So,
because I don't think that Bay Area taxpayers are gonna be like, let's
let's do that shit again
for the Sharks. Like, I don't see it.
Yeah, not at all. So, there's a couple RFAs that are obviously going to get discussed. Clean Shady, $2 million RFA. Zetterlund, 25 years old, only making 1.45.
I think if Clem Shady has like a really good end of the season, then maybe they circle back. But I think his run is probably over. And like
Ontario won in overtime.
That's sad. That makes me sad. And it's crazy because like when you look at like Clem Shady and Zadina, like didn't they both get drafted by Detroit?
I know Clem did.
Yeah, and so did Philip Zadina.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
Yeah, like, and just like, and like, man, you want to know why this rebuild for Detroit seems to be going forever? I mean,
Well,
holy fuck.
They're giving away players like Wallman, bro.
Yeah. Yeah, and then the players that they kind of like players that they got in the top 10 like they are now out of the league or on their way out of the league. It's crazy.
Man. Well, last I looked, the Sharks had $9 million in current cap space. You don't have, smartly, Couture isn't sitting on LTIR, so they have more than enough in the way of cap space, and it feels like the ability to take on a bad contract at the deadline to sweeten the pot. So
I mean, that's what they did with Georgiev.
Yeah, so I think Greer, continues on the path that he's on. Like I said, the Sharks are 30th right now in the league. I don't see it getting much better, especially after Blackwood being gone, because, I mean, he was a pretty significant component in winning some of those games. So let's see how Vanacek and Georgiev play out this month. I'm assuming they're just going to ping-pong them back and forth until one of them catches fire. So either way, I feel like, we're not there yet, but there's some light at the end of the tunnel. So
I think, I think that there's definitely light at the end of the tunnel. I think if you're looking to see like what Macklin Celebrini is doing, obviously, hopefully like Mukhamadullin comes in and continues playing well. And then the guys that you have coming.
Mm-hmm. And there's so much more going. We haven't even talked about like Dickinson or some of the other pieces that are going to be.
That's what I mean. Like there's some nice other pieces plus whatever they're going to get in this year's draft.
Mm-hmm. All right, so hero and zero this week. My hero, of course, going to be Kovalenko. I mean, 4 points in 2 games, including 3 assists versus St. Louis. It's kind of like, you slid in and made a pretty good impact in your first week.
Yeah, I get like this is a guy I didn't know a ton about when he got here, and I was kind of like, well, we'll see what we got. Like it seems like a good pickup. Like when we did the initial reaction to the Blackwood trade show with Jules, I admit I didn't know much about him, but like he's my hero too because I think he came in, he did really well. Puts points up on the board, gives us an option that isn't fucking Luke Kunin and Barclay Goodrow in the top 6. These are good things.
Well, and credit to Smith and Costin for getting injured and giving him some space to play.
Yeah. That's my other hero of the week. No, I'm just kidding.
My zero for the week, Henry Thrun. I mean, brother, you were scratched twice this week. This is not a good blue line, and you can't crack this lineup. So
it's not his fault.
It isn't, but I've had a lot of high hopes for this cat, and they're kind of starting to wane. And then, and what happens when Vlasic finally does return? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, well, he's going to the Barracuda. That's what's happening. Yeah. Again, I think Henry Thrun. I don't think he's been great this year.
Is Thrun waiver exempt?
Yes.
Oh well, then send him there already.
Here's the thing. Well, you want to carry a 7th because especially if you go on the road or whatever. Here's the thing. It's not really Henry Thrun's fault though. The Sharks obviously they think very highly of Shakir Mukhamadullin and they want to give Shakir Mukhamadullin a shot. And unfortunately, it's not going to come at the expense of a guy like Jan Ruder or Cody Ceci. It's going to come at the expense of another young guy. This is why Thompson obviously got sent to the Barracuda. One, so he could play big minutes, whatever, right? Sending Thrun down to the Barracuda, it would make the blue line interesting for sure. But I do wonder who that fucks over on the Barracuda.
Yeah.
As far as ice time, right? Because I think their blue line's really good this year. Can you double check? Yeah, I think Vlasic comes back and Thrun goes down or Mukhamadullin goes down. Like he's going to have to outplay Mukhamadullin to get back into the lineup.
Can you double check Puckpedia? Because Swanson is asking if someone would claim Thrun. Are we 100% sure that he is waiver exempt?
99.99% positive that he is waivers. He is not eligible for waivers. Let me confirm. San Jose Sharks.
Because I wasn't 100% sure. I thought so.
Yeah, I am almost positive, but maybe he has played enough games to not be waiver eligible. Where's the other site? I hate Puckpedia.
Yeah, it's just kind of, it's like, it is what it is. It's all we got now that,
Oh, maybe Henry Thorne's played enough games that maybe they would risk losing him now. I am not sure. I thought that he would be waivers ineligible. Let me see here. Henry Thorne.
That's one of those ones we'll have to,
I'll have to double check
yeah.
that. I'm pretty sure he should still have waiver. Like, he should be able to clear waivers, but maybe not. Maybe he's played enough games where now he can't.
We'll have to put it in the comments later.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's it. Do you have a different zero for the week?
I don't really like. I struggled really hard with the zero this week. Right?
Dude, if Thrun doesn't get scratched twice this week, I'm at a loss. Like, I wouldn't know who to take. I'd be like whoever, held the microphone too close to Warsofsky's face during the post, or I just pick some random name that works at NBCSN.
I look at it, right, and everything was just kind of fine this week. The goaltending was fine. It wasn't spectacular, but it wasn't brutal. Like, I don't think I thought Georgiev played fine in his game, and I thought that Vanacek in both games, like, I didn't really blame him for any of the goals. I didn't think any of the goals were super egregious. The defense is the defense, and I've said I wasn't going to continue picking on the same guys. So they were, and again, I don't think they were egregiously bad, right? And the forwards were fine. Like, everything was kind of fine this week, despite the fact that they only picked up 2 points.
Hello.
It was fine.
Evidently, a friend of mine has decided to co-host here. So what else happened this week? Oh, the Sharks just went and dropped like their first holiday video in 10 years, I guess, or whatever. So 10 years after holiday sweater. Oh, you know what? That was you know what? I'll have to do it next Sunday. I was gonna inflate the one that they sent to me and like have it in the background, but I was running late today. So with so many alumni in town for Jumbo's retirement weekend, I thought it would have been cool to try to do a holiday sweater, the remix or something. But the inflatable thing was pretty funny. What did you think?
It's fine. Like, these are like, these are never my thing. I think it's good for the people.
I like to see the players cut loose a little.
Sure, yeah. Like, and I think it's fine, and I think it's nice that the Sharks are doing, because there's been a stretch now where obviously that they just haven't really done anything. So I think it's cool that they kind of they're starting to get back into the thing with and I think they're trying to increase the talk around the team again. Obviously, again, you have guys like Macklin Celebrini and Will Smith and guys on the way. So I think that it's good to see the Sharks doing stuff again. But this is never, I don't know, these things are never for me.
I got it. That's fine. If you watch the show with any regularity at all, you know that I do enjoy a rant from time to time. And so my rant this week is going to be on YouTube TV raising their prices again. like YouTube TV, in 2018 or something was like $35. Now it's going to be like almost 90. And live sports is really the only reason why I have YouTube TV. It's the only reason why I had DirecTV for a while, to be quite honest. But the price got so outrageous I switched. But between getting something like Peacock or Hulu to watch a couple of shows that I actually watched, it might be time to just cut the cord again. And I hate to say it, I hate to be that guy, because I don't like the Chinese knockoff jerseys that I see. I hate that shit. But maybe it's time to start flying the pirate flag until NBCSN collapses and the Sharks and Giants just do their own thing. But put it in the chat, man. Like, how much money are you paying per month for TV? Because I don't want to have to pay $90 a month just to watch Sharks games, when I know that there are avenues I can go to and watch for free. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, it's between YouTube TV, a couple of streaming platforms, I'm almost at $125, which honestly, in my opinion, is about twice as much as you should be. It drives me crazy that we subsidize foreign language channels and channels that nobody watches. Like, I know nobody who's ever seen WeTV or the Hallmark Channel. I just don't know anybody who watches that shit. So we're going to have to come up with another solution here, people. We need to stop this shit, man. And then finally, before we move on to some NHL shit, I'm just going to tickle your ass with a feather. But I'm just going to say, keep a heads up this coming week. There might be an announcement that is surprising to some people. So that's all I can say at this point. And then see Eli coming in saying, Stream East, $0 a month.
Here you go.
I'm telling you.
So I'm seeing Puckpedia says he's 10. He must. I don't understand why he's eligible waivers. I gotta go through the waiver rules, but apparently he wasn't eligible earlier in the season. He apparently is now. So I don't know if he hit like a certain milestone where he became eligible. That's going to be fascinating when Vlasic does come back. Then, if that's the case.
Will Vlasic ever come back? Dun dun dun. The Panthers, it was announced, will host an outdoor game at Marlins Park next season. Good luck having good ice in that game. As a follow-up, Pagnotta received some pushback on specifically identifying this as a Stadium Series game. Could this actually be the next Winter Classic location? In South Florida? Really? All right.
That doesn't make any sense. I think people just love giving Pagnotta a hard time.
Perhaps. Dude, I mean, it's another branded event, whatever. Either way, the Panthers are going to be hosting one. I'm on record of saying, like, this nonsense must end. Have your single Heritage Classic between the, a couple Canadian teams.
Mm-hmm.
Have your one your New Year's Eve game or your New Year's Day game. Sure. But like the whole, hey, this team's going to have a Stadium Series. This team's going to have a stadium, because we literally have two teams. It's coming up, right? Chicago and St. Louis. And it's like the same two teams again playing at a venue they've already played at. Like, we've worn this shit out. When you continually do this shit, it's not that special anymore. And let's be honest, when you keep using Chicago and Pittsburgh and Philly and the usual suspects every fucking time, you're pissing off the other, pissing off the fans of the West Coast teams, the Sun Belt teams. Just stop it already. All right, let's move on to that other team we were just talking about a few minutes ago that lost in OT. Okay, and we're back. All right.
And we're back.
Yeah, all right. So I threw to a video file that was not there, unfortunately, and so that evidently fucked up the stream. So imagine, if you will, that you heard, ooh, Barracuda. So the Barracuda, 15-6-1. This might be the first time that I can remember this season where the Barracuda lost more than they won this week. A shootout win in Coachella. The CUDA with a franchise-high shot total of 53. And the CUDA turned a 2-goal lead into a 1-goal deficit, but were able to tie it with 90 seconds left on a goal by Podorowski. No scoring in the extra 5 led to a shootout, and Askarov closed the door. Askarov, whatever. Closed the door while both Kunin and Podorowski got filthy. And a rather pedestrian 26 of 29 saved by Yaroslav. What do we think about that one?
great. I mean, it was a good effort, obviously, by Barracuda. They came out, obviously, like you said, they came out with the lead. They kind of played the fruit a little bit. They come back, they let the other team come back. But then, they buckle down and they get the win, which is something that last year, all too often, that wasn't the way it ended, right? There's too many times last year where this team would get up and then they would get down and they couldn't get back up again. And that's the difference, really.
Well, I mean, not the greatest road trip right now.
No.
So San Diego, it's a 5-2 loss. The Gulls absolutely feeding the CUDA their lunch on Saturday, scoring the first 5 in what would end up being that 5-2 loss. Easily the worst game Yaroslav has had so far for the CUDA. But our boys Cardwell and Cagnoni coming through with assists on the Bordelot goal. So those guys keep producing points, man.
Yeah, but I think like that. See, the question. There's this question just asked all the time: is why is Luca Cagnoni not in the NHL? Why is he on the AHL team? And I think if you, I mean, points are good. Don't be wrong, but if you watch the rest of his game, it was not good. You want to talk about Askarov having a not great game? Aside from that assist, it was all bad for Cagnoni. In that game, I don't know why that is. I don't know why the Barracuda have had such a difficult time with the San Diego Gulls this year. Like, this is a team they should not be losing to, and for some reason they have their number, and it escapes all logic.
We just had an interesting comment from John Swenson in the chat. So just an FYI, if any of you have a TechCU, I'm assuming banking account, you can get second or third row seats for $20 or $30. Kind of an awesome deal. I'm assuming you mean for a Barracuda game. So I mean, if you're want to sit right next to the glass kind of a guy, hell yeah. I'm a guy who's just, I mean, I've been to TechCU many times. There's literally not a bad seat in the place. The worst seat at TechCU is still within club level of SAP. So,
right,
good luck finding a bad seat. And then finally, besides the San Diego game, they head to Ontario. And as you heard earlier, it's a 5-4 loss that went to a shootout, despite the fact that if memory serves, the Barracuda had a 3-1 lead going into the third. So you kind of go, how are you going to lose that in a shootout when, hashtag it was 3-1?
Yeah, I mean, today's game was unfortunate. I give them credit because they kind of started bad, then they got good, and then I didn't see what happened to finish the game. Like when I finished watching, because we had to do the show, I didn't want it distracting me. They were up, so I'm gonna have to go back and figure out where everything all went wrong.
Well, clearly it's the third period is when it happened.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, credit to Ethan Cardwell. He had 2 helpers and a goal in this game. In fact, if they just could have held on a little bit longer, that one by Cardwell would have been the game winner. But they did also score twice on the power play, so keeping that up in a nice level on the stat sheet. We dig that. This week,
and that broke their power play goals broke a pretty significant streak of penalties killed by the Ontario Reign. So credit to them for that. So
nice. This week, the CUDA are going to play at Coachella for the second time in less than a week before a home-and-home series against Bakersfield. I believe, if memory serves, that home game might be the last home game for the CUDA in this calendar year. So if you want to see some CUDA hockey during the holidays, I think that's the only time you get the opportunity to do it in San Jose. For the prospect watch that we kind of check in on, we mentioned Cameron Lund last week as a prospect to watch, and boom, with 2 goals and 5 points this weekend, Northeastern's Cam Lund moved into first place in College Hockey News' Hobie Baker tracker. Could you imagine, dude, if he were to win and the Sharks have back-to-back Hobie winners?
Be nice, man. It'd be like,
why can't we have nice things, man?
Why can't we have nice things? Apparently we do. I'm really Yeah, I mean, Cam Lund's a player who like I like, but I think I always get nervous about because obviously he had that one really good prospect scrimmage, but I think that people like super overrate those.
Well, you're talking to a guy who like lost his shit over Eric Polkamp in the last prospect scrimmage.
Yeah,
Man,
just
he
because
should be on the Sharks, dude.
because I think it's like a situation like where it's like you have to take it for what it is, right? Like it's a best on best. It's not a best on best. It's a pure on pure thing, and but like I'm excited for what he's doing, obviously, because it's like oh, this could be interesting, but like let's see what he does in college, and so far in college he's been great.
Cam Lund is on one of the worst NCAA teams in the league, says Like a Tiger.
NCAA is not my jam, but I mean obviously he's doing well, and that's what matters to me.
Well, let's see what else is going on here before we get out of here. Well,
no, Tiger.
What? Oh. The Sharks on Wednesday placed defenseman Valtteri Pulley, if I'm getting that right, on unconditional waivers for the purpose of terminating his NHL contract. Evidently, he requested to play in Europe, and it was mutually agreed to terminate the contract, said Joe Will.
Yeah. So Valtteri Pulley is a guy who you always have these guys, right, who will kind of parlay a really good European season into like a two-way deal, and Valtteri Pulley was kind of that guy, but it never really worked out for him here. And then obviously with the Sharks and the Barracuda, rather, like really bolstering that blue line. He couldn't really find it. He played 2 games this year for the Barracuda. I don't think they sent him to the E at all. So it was a nice, it's one of those things where sometimes you swing and you're gonna miss every once in a while. And Valtteri Pulley, unfortunately for him, was a miss for the Sharks, but so now he's going to go back to Europe and probably be a little more happy. And I think it's fine because again, he wasn't really playing for the Barracuda this year. I think he had 2 games that he played in this year, and I never really thought much of him to begin with anyway. Like he came in with kind of a lot of hype and never really lived up to any of it. So again, it's just like it's a situation where it was a good swing by the Sharks, but they can all be hits.
Yeah. So. Excuse me. Gotta hack up a little something. Follow Teal Town USA, Ian Reed, Sharks Jules, Kevin Lacey on the Twitter when you want to hear some more about the prospects and CUDA. You might even get an occasional gift or something fun in there. Coming up this week for the Sharks, they are going to host the Winnipeg Jets. Oh, shit. Mm-hmm. Well, that team might be pretty good right there.
Yeah.
And then Colorado. Think Blackwood's going to be geared up for that one?
Probably.
Before heading up to Western Canada for a 2-game quickie starting at Edmonton. So, dude, like, I don't mean to be that guy, but, dude, this is one hellacious week. I mean... this entire week, though, you look at those 3 games and it's like, I feel like you're getting coal in your stocking, Sharks.
Yeah, it's this is not going to be a fun week for the Sharks, I don't think. I look at Winnipeg has kind of cooled off a little bit, but they still have like the best goalie in the world, or at least one of them, in Connor Hellebuyck.
Say best goalie in the West.
Easily. Yeah. I don't know, man. Like it's tough. And who knows? Do they even get Hellebuyck that game? Maybe they don't. But I don't think that'll help them too much. Like, they're not the juggernaut they were to start the season. Obviously, things had to cool off for them, but I still think that's going to be a real tough out for the Sharks and the Avalanche. I'm fascinated to see who they put in net for that. I don't think it matters. Like, I wonder if they put Georgiev in net to see if he can, to kind of stymie his old team and kind of have it be like a Georgiev versus Blackwood thing. And I think if that's the case, Sharks fans are going to learn very quickly why Georgiev's here and Blackwood's there.
But, I mean, you kind of, if we're trying to sell the, market this game or, market the league, sell this type of shit, these are the kind of matchups you need, that the media can jump on. and talk about it. You know that they'd be talking about it pregame, the NHL Network when they do their preview. Everybody would, tap on that point. So, yeah, I'd bet some significant coin that that's the matchup in net we see. But then finishing the week in Edmonton, it's
not good. It's not a fun, like, again, this is not going to be a fun week. I think I don't know what Edmonton's been doing lately. Let's go see what Edmonton's been doing lately.
Well,
but again,
the fun part is this is the first time that the Sharks are playing Edmonton this season.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, oh, right. Is there going to be, again, it's the whole thing of like, okay, we're going to sell this. So it's going to be, McDavid versus Celebrini type of bullshit,
Yeah, it's 8. I mean, the Edmonton Oilers are 8-2-0 in their last 10. Now, obviously, they're probably going to play some games before they play the San Jose Sharks. But they've kind of come on. And this is a really good team. And again, I think that the Sharks goaltending was respectable this week, which I was very concerned about going. Like, I'm like, is this going to be watchable without Mackenzie Blackwood? So far to their credit, they have been. I thought they hung in there with Carolina. So who knows? They might surprise us, but if they get out of this week with 2 points, I'll be happy.
Yeah, I'm kind of right there with you. But again, it's that whole thing. And I guarantee you, somebody else is going to say this. I don't need credit for it when whoever broadcaster brings it up. But they're going to look at this week and they're going to, I bet you maybe it's going to be Ramey. They're going to go, because again, he is just super positive. He's going to be like, you look at this this week of games with Winnipeg, Colorado, and Edmonton, and you go, well, that's a pretty tough shot. And I guarantee you somebody is going to do that and then say, but then again, they beat the Capitals, the highest scoring team, held them to 1 goal. So, and of course, my response to that is going to be like, and who was in goal for that game? For San Jose? He's no longer here. All right. So, my holiday gift to you people next Sunday is part of it is it's a holiday gift to Ian because we're going to give him a day off for Pete's sakes. But we have a special guest coming in next Sunday for the show just before the holidays, and it is about time. Oh boy! So we have the Sharks signed Blackwood Sharks territory sign. We need to figure out a way to give this away live on the show. And I always, my thing is I need to come up with something that is not, that you can't just Google the answer really quick,
Right. Yeah.
So,
we don't know how good your Google foo is.
Yeah. So I'm kind of like wondering, what would be, what's a good question?
Oh man, you can't put me on the spot like that.
I'll just say before we get out of here, like what could be a good okay, so let's see. No, it's too Googleable. Oh, okay. We talked about this a couple weeks ago. There was the first person that puts in, and you have to be a USA resident, by the way. The first person that gets this answer correct will win a Hawaiian Shark shirt and this sign autographed by Mackenzie Blackwood. The question is, a couple of weeks ago, Dalton, I'm going to do that one time. It's a random number guess. I just write down a number and just hold it up.
1 in 1,000.
Yeah. Yeah, whoever comes closest. So we talked about it, I think maybe last week, maybe the week before, whatever. I went off on somebody from a local radio station looking for cookies. Who was that person? Give me the name of that person. If you're somebody who watches the show with any regularity, you're going to know exactly who I'm talking about. Somebody who works for one of the local sports stations, was crying in the club about covering the Sharks, wanted all these cookies, got on Twitter and, we're doing such a good job. And even Becker, Jonathan Becker said, look, we appreciate the coverage. And so while you guys try to figure that out, I'm going to say, remember, like and subscribe. Help keep us commercial free by using the super chat option like John and Skylar did earlier tonight. Better yet, please use Venmo. Find us at Tealtown USA because, Google takes 30% because they don't have enough money, and that's why they're going to double up everybody using YouTube TV. You can find...
You think that's bad, though? Like, up here, like, I haven't had cable in forever, but, like, the problem up here is, of course, is, like, all the television people are also the internet people. So my internet is, like, insanity.
You can find links to our social media, podcast apps, and more in the show notes. You can find everything on tealtownusa.com. And if you're still part of the group that we're all waving the big middle finger to Elon, follow us on Blue Sky. So I'm looking. Nobody has hit it yet. I've seen Brody as a guest. I've seen Greg as a guest. So I'm assuming you mean Greg Papa. Nope. There was a particular host. I'll give you a clue. A particular bilingual host who does work for the Giants and 49ers. Wanting cookies. Come on, people. I have faith in you. Somebody can win this.
Does Skylar have it?
Yes. Skylar got it. Okay, thank you. Jesus Christ, he middle initialed the guy. He went full government name on that. Way to go, Skylar.
Good. Yeah, I like it.
You got his credit card number too? Social?
Address.
All right. So, Skylar, reach you know where to find me. Hit me up and yeah. Or maybe I'll just bring it to the Calgary game. So, there we go. That's the giveaway this time. I think we'll probably do another one next week. And I think that is going to do it for tonight's show. Any last words for you, my friend?
No, I mean...
no. Okay, good night, everybody.
I mean, I don't really... what else is there to say? I think we covered everything pretty good. I hope that... I hope that no one misses me next week as I sip Mai Tais and watch the show. I don't know.
Yeah, there you go. Okay, I'm not going to read that Skylar comment. So, with that, I think we're going to be out of here. Again, 3 games this week are going to be very, very difficult. It's could be a bit of a slog going into the holidays for the Sharks, but look, we're real close to the halfway point. Yeah. And that's when things tend to get fun because it gets us closer and closer to the trade deadline, which I think at this point we all know is, no one's looking at the playoff pictures. We're looking at the trade deadline as our kind of second Christmas, if you get what I'm saying.
Here's hoping.
I want to see what Mike Greer leaves under the teal tree on trade deadline day and, leading up to it. So with that, we're out of here. Enjoy the what is left of your weekend, and we will catch you all following Sharks in Winnipeg with After Dark. Are you on that one?
No, I think we're back at late nights again. So I did more shows because we were on a nice, games were on at 7:00 my time, which makes life a lot easier to be on shows.
Oh, dude, I don't know what I'm going to do with myself with that because it got to the point where I was like, the game would end and I'd be like, oh my God, I have my entire evening free to do all sorts of other stuff.
Yeah. No, these games are on way too late. Maybe after the Oilers. We'll see.
All right. So that's it, everybody. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you all either next Sunday or following Sharks and Winnipeg. Good night, everybody.